Welcome to Westside Anywhere. If you're watching live or checking us out after the fact on demand, we want to let you know that you are welcome here. We love giving shout-outs to everyone joining us from all around the globe. So if you're watching us live, now is the perfect time to let us know in the chat or comments where you're watching from, because church is a family, and church is better together no matter where you are or what time zone you're in. We are God's family, loving Jesus, becoming like Jesus, and sharing Jesus to raise up Christ-centered families in our city and beyond by wrapping God's family around your family. One of the ways we invite people into the Westside family is by having you share this video right now. Share with your circle of friends, coworkers, and family to join us today. If at any time during this service you have questions, we encourage you to put that question in the chat or comments, and we'll do our best to answer that question towards the end of the service. Just prefix your questions with the letter Q so our team can collect them.
We all have habits, good, bad, and ugly, right? But let's reinforce the good. Share one good habit you've developed in your life that has helped you be where you are today. Bad habits can really be hard to break, but take a look at all the good habits in the chat. That's proof that we can build them, especially with God's help. There is nothing our God can't do.
Good morning, welcome to Westside. Let's go ahead and stand to our feet today. Praise be the weapon that silences the enemy. Let praise be a weapon that conquers all anxiety. Let it rise. Let praise arise. We sing your name in the dark and it changes everything. We sing with all we are and we claim your victory. Let it rise. Let praise arise. Come on. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. Fear cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lift him high. With all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, let's sing, let faith be the song that overcomes the raging sea. Let faith be the song that calms the storm inside of me. Let it rise. Let praise arise. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. Fear cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lift him high. With all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, let's bring it down. Come on. This is what living looks. Let's get our hands. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you. We praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you. We praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you. We praise. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. Fear cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lift him high. With all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, we praise you.
Come on, put your hands together. Good morning, Westside. So glad that you chose to come in the building and join us online. It is dreary outside, but the sun is certainly shining on the inside. Can you agree? The S-O-N is certainly here. So have a seat. We'll be back to worship the Lord a little later.
I can't even imagine truly what my life would have been like without Network 127, and how Jen and everyone just walked alongside of us through times that we had no idea what lie ahead. And without that, I cannot truly even imagine what we would have done, because it is such a difficult journey with so many unknowns. But when you have people that care about you and that you know are praying for you and that show up to celebrate with you on adoption day, there's just nothing like that. And I'm so grateful for the mission that Westside has of supporting foster and adoptive families. Oh my goodness, it's been a rough year. It has been challenging. Tom, I wish he could have been here today.
He did.
He had a stroke in the spring, and that took us by surprise, as you can imagine. He is such a fighter and fought back and was determined that he was gonna stay moving, and he did. And then about a couple weeks later, I ended up in the hospital with some issues, and that were kind of scary, but then we pressed on, and then COVID came to visit our family. Tom got sick first, and about 24 hours later, Maddie and I got sick. And Tom was it was very frightening. He lost over 30 pounds. It was very frightening. I was really fearful for how that was gonna turn out. But God was so good, and my Westside family showed up. I normally like to kind of surprise them with new adventures, and so sometimes I wait till we're en route, but this time I decided to tell them the night before. This weekend was just time to connect in a very safe place. I can't remember truly the last time that I had the chance to go somewhere, not just for them, but for me as well. And I want to personally just thank Westside for walking with us through our journey these numerous years, and still walking with us even now, and providing such a wonderful, amazing time that we had with our family.
Thank you,
Westside.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Yeah, we do. We want to say thank you, Westside family. By the way, my name's Dan Deeble. It's my joy to serve as one of the teaching pastors here, and to be kind of a Westside newbie. and also to be an adoptive foster or adoptive father. Just want to say thank you. Thank you for all the ways in which, whether it's with your time, the ways that you serve, maybe you feel called to pray for your church, or maybe with your financial resources, your giving. And it's been really fun from the inside, to kind of like peek behind the veil and go, oh my gosh, so much is happening in and among us, through us, and beyond us because of your generosity. So Westside, we just really want to say thank you so much. Thank you for coming out. Want to greet everyone online as well. Speedway Campus, South Sanctuary, wherever you might be. We want to just welcome you here today. We are going to jump into our second installment of Creatures of Habit. But to get you ready for that, I want to ask you to get your phone out. Would you do that right now, wherever you are, online or whatever? And if you do not have the Westside Family app, we want you to grab it, because we're going to do a little assessment during the sermon. So you can grab that QR code with your phone, go to Westside Family, and as the Pulse announcements are running by way of video, I'm just going to give you permission to multitask. Download the app, and then we'll come back together and we'll jump in. Sound good? All right. We'll see you in just a moment.
Welcome to Westside. Whether you're online or on site, we would love to meet you. Our goal here is to help raise up Christ-centered families in Kansas City and beyond by wrapping God's family around your family. If this is your first time with us in person, we have a gift for you. Scan the New Here QR code on the back of the seat in front of you and fill out the form. Then, after the service, look for the green banner in the Connection Center to collect your gift and join us for a quick meet and greet called Westside in 4. You'll learn 4 things about Westside in 4 minutes and discover how you can get connected. For those of you gathering with us online, we want to meet you and have a gift for you too. Look for a link in the comments below to connect with us. Has summer fever hit your house yet? I know we're all excited for barbecues and playing in the sun again, but if you're looking for ways to make your summer count, we've got you covered here at Westside. There's a little something for everyone. Are your relationships struggling lately? This summer, don't let them go down without a fight. Join Westside and our partners Macedonia Baptist and Unite KC as we build relationships in our families and friendships. Learn more about the initiative at westsidefamily.church/fit-to-fight. Calling all middle and high school students. Block June 27th through the 30th on your calendar for Elevate. Help unleash the power of fun and challenge yourself at this exciting student summer experience. We're keeping it local this year, and it's open to all 6th through 12th graders. Go to the link on screen to learn more and make sure you register by June 23rd. It's time to press play and make plans to get in the mix, because Kids Gig is about to go down. Registration is now open as we get ready to turn up the volume for a fun and memorable week, July 26th through the 29th. This summer, kids ages 4 through entering 5th grade will learn about foundational truths about God, like how He sees them, feels about them, and thinks about them. Participate on-site at Lenexa or Speedway, or host a kids gig anywhere in your community. Invite your neighbors and family. To register, sign up to volunteer, or just learn more, go to westsidefamily.church/kidsgig. Stay connected this summer with the Westside app. Stay up to date on these activities, events, and so much more this summer. It's the easiest way to stay connected with us throughout the year.
Hey. So have you ever taken that Sunday drive in the direction of Casey Joe's because you just have a hankering for a Z-Man? And you arrive into an eerily vacant parking lot only to be reminded that Casey Joe's is closed on Sunday? And to just, this is what happens in me. I go straight to be feeling like a victim, and I say sometimes out loud, how could they do this to me? Right, you know? And then in the back recesses of my mind, I think about what sometimes can feel a little bit like an old blue law or that archaic kind of thing called the Sabbath, the day of rest, an actual 10 commandment, which says you shall take one day, set it apart. It's a day of rest. It is to be holy. Here it is, right off the Walmart.com website. The 10 commandments could have been Hobby Lobby too. And right there in the third hole, remember to keep holy the Lord's day, a day of rest, which let's just take this in for a moment. It's right up there with things like don't murder, right? And we look at it, and then actually, if we go to the actual passage where Moses receives the 10 commandments, and he's here, you shall have no other gods before me, you shall not lie, you shall not steal, don't commit adultery. Right there, the third commandment says this: remember the Sabbath day. That just means a day of rest, by keeping it holy, which means set it apart from any other day. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. And actually, as this is rolling out, I got to tell you, it was revolutionary for that time in that culture, just actually as radical as it really is today. No other culture was really practicing this kind of benevolent approach to work. On it, it says this: on it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens. Here's the big why. Why do we do this? Well, because God did. In 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them. But he rested on the seventh day. Therefore, the Lord God blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. And I think if we are honest, we read that, we see that it's up there on the 10 Commandments. Many of us have it hanging on our wall, and we give it a head nod, maybe a golf clap. We say, well, I'll take it under advisement. But we really functionally, we live as if there are 9 commandments and 1 suggestion. Right? I mean, how many of us actually today take it seriously and do as God commands? And if we don't, why don't we? Why don't you? Why don't I? Well, there's a lot of reasons. Let me just give you one. Because work is awesome. Isn't work awesome? I mean, from a theological perspective, God created work. He calls it also holy. He gives us a sense of commissioning. From work, we get a deep sense of purpose and our sense of worth sometimes in an overinflated sense. But so much good comes from work. And in fact, just even think about the ratio. God said, I want you to work for 6 days, but only rest for 1. 6 days and 1. Like, work is really, really important, and it is really at times satisfying, but not for everyone. I want to be clear about that. Some of you are like, work is not awesome. Work is demoralizing. Work is a sucker punch every time I clock in. Others of us are like, I'm in transition at work, and even a conversation around work can be really hard. Others of you are maybe in a different stage of life where you're retired, and so work means something kind of different for you. You might be a student, you could be a stay-at-home parent, and so we all have to come into this conversation from a place of what does work mean for you right now? But who I'm really talking to? I'm really talking to my peeps out there, my tribe of near like borderline workaholics. You're the type A, you're the chargers. On the Enneagram, you're maybe a 3, possibly you're an 8, you're adrenaline seeking, never satisfied, go for it, leave it all in the field, junkie. Who are you? Like, are you out there? Are you my tribe? You're like, yes, work is awesome. It is awesome. Like, I'm in this place in my life where I get to serve as a teaching pastor here. I've got like 3 or 4 different sermons in my head at any one time. Started a business a year ago, working on a second business. Like, I'm putting in, 65, 70 hours a week, and I love it. My wife just last night gave me a card. It was so cool. And one of the things she wrote, she said, honey, you work so hard. I'm so proud of you. And you never complain. And I read that. I'm like, complain? Why would I complain? I get to work. Actually, the problem is not that I don't complain. The problem is that I don't complain. Does that make sense? Like because my problem is I never complain.
There's no problem. No problem at all. Hey, hey, Dan.
The work creature, Jen Decker, everyone. Let's just welcome work creature to the stage. They're very excited to receive you today.
Yeah, I'm on a quick call for work, but I'm on hold.
You're on with who? Who are you on
pressed
hold?
one for English and then said I would hold longer.
Right. With who? Who are you on hold with?
Just one of my clients.
Your client, okay. Yeah. And you're here because you too have a problem, Jen.
Well, no, I can come to church and work, no problem.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think it's my hunch that many of us might have a little bit of that insatiable desire and hunger for work like you.
Yes, I can hold longer.
So that maybe we should just take a bit of an assessment. So this is why we had you download the app if you didn't already have it. Go ahead and grab your phones, right? And we're going to go ahead and go to that app. And right at the very front, you're going to see it will say Workaholic Quiz. We have created a quiz that...
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. I left my phone in the bathroom. You just hold that.
Which phone was in the bathroom?
Can you just hold this one, please? I'm on hold on this one.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
And why do you have two phones?
Oh, because I have boundaries. So one's a work phone, and one's a personal phone. That way my personal life doesn't get into my work life, and my work life doesn't get into my personal life.
Well, that's clearly working for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nice job. Well, let's take this quiz together,
Okay,
shall we?
great.
Everybody, you have your phones. You have this up. 10 questions. We've created these. These are designed to be mostly whimsical, but slightly poignant. All right? So let's pull it up, and we're going to do this one at a time. We're going to go all together. Number one, do you check your email before you eat in the morning?
Yep.
At stoplights?
And go lights? It's a go light if the person behind you honks. That means
and
it's
in the
time to go.
bathroom, and clearly you have your answer. I'm giving you a 10.
Yes,
Right?
10.
All right? You put your answer in there?
10 out of
All
10.
right. Do you, number two, create checklists at work that are almost impossible to complete?
Might be impossible for some other people to complete them, but I.
Okay, all right. So we'll make pride a different sermon. Okay, good. Number three, you all taking this? Okay. Have you put off seeing your doctor for health concerns because it will interfere with your work or your work schedule?
I did ask Sarah about that mole last week, and she didn't think it was a big deal. So I can.
That seems kind of personal.
Okay.
Right?
Well, it's
back to
fine.
boundaries.
It's probably nothing.
Okay, so
It's probably nothing.
I'm going to give you what, I don't know, solid
9.
9. Okay. Next question. Do you have a time set aside each week when you refuse to work?
Sure. When do I do that?
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you a 10 there, Jen.
Sure, I have.
All right, we're going to move on. Do your loved ones often ask you to stop working, either by inference, by new...
You can go now.
by
can go
suggestion,
now. Thank you.
by strong head nod. All right.
It's not like he's an expert.
That's a 10. Yeah, I think he's an expert. Do you have a hard time shutting off work thoughts at night?
Okay, I have a question about this one. What if you dream about a work thing? If you dream about a work thing.
Yeah, that's next level.
Oh.
That's next level. So that's an automatic 10. You are overachieving. Yes. Next question. Do you tell a significant other that, quote, you're packing up from work to come home, even though you're not actually packing up?
Well, it could be pre-packing up. It could be pre-packing.
There is no such thing as you're either packing up or you're not packing up. And we're going to talk about lying in 2 weeks. That's a sermon thing. Right?
Okay.
All right, I'm giving you a 10. All right, do you, everyone, you got to be honest about this. Do you sneak work at important events such as wedding receptions? I didn't even have the heart to put funeral in there, okay? Wedding receptions, kid activities, or church. Yeah, whistle while you work. All right. Do you, next question, do you feel guilty for not working even when it's not expected of you at night, weekends, vacation, and you feel this kind of internal angst?
I expect it of myself always.
All right, you just gave me your answer. Do you feel less excitement when you complete a project than you thought you would. Less excitement. You thought it was going to be awesome. You thought you'd like have the feeling of arrival, and then it's just on to the next thing. What do you give?
Oh, yeah. 10.
10. All right. 10 it is.
Yes.
99.
Yes.
99.
That's an A.
No.
Yes.
No.
Winning!
That's pathology.
Winning!
That's pathological.
I'm winning.
Is what that is. Yeah.
Oh, DoorDash is here. I gotta
all
go.
right.
You know what? I'm sure the rest
working
of this
lunch. I get
is
it.
gonna be great.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll catch it this week online.
Yeah.
No problem. I can do it in the car.
Let's thank our work creature, Jen Decker. All right. How'd we do? You all take it? You all have a number? Shall we do a little super inexact, unscientific diagnosis of ourselves? You up for that? Okay. You with me? You all have your score? Head nod? All right. So, and if you're online anywhere, checking this out, go ahead and just throw your score up there if you want to, if you're so brave. But if you are 0 to 44, it says LS at the top. You know what that stands for? Lovable slacker is what that stands for, right? Here's what that basically means. It means from a workaholic perspective, we kind of admire your life, but we really don't want it because it sounds kind of boring. Is really, right? And the more technical, this is all, again, we're just having fun here. You may have a tendency to lack motivation, struggle to care vocationally, and are on a search for greater vocational purpose and meaning, right? We love our lovable slackers. All right, if you scored 45 to, I want to say 75, then you're just what we call a decent human being. That's just what, that's our title for you. And here's our technical diagnosis. You most likely maintain a sense of balance, practice healthy boundaries, adequate self-care, and have a general capacity for connection, intimacy, and overall life satisfaction. How many, I'm just curious, how many of you are decent human beings? All right. Man, we aspire to be you. All right, if you are 76 to 89, you've actually been diagnosed by us, but you've been diagnosed. OHFD, obsessive hyper functioning disorder is what we've just assigned to you. And this means that you run the risk of work becoming your highest priority. This pursuit can result in a denial of self-care, a compromise of your integrity, and it can put your most important relationships in jeopardy. Now, if you scored in that top 10 percentile, 90 to 100, you got the score WW. That just stands for Westside Workaholic. Congratulations is what we want to say. How many of you just want to wear it loud and proud? Right, I got some clapping down here by Sarah. Thank you so much, right? Right there, like Jen Decker. And what does that mean? It means work has perhaps become your highest priority and is most likely negatively impacting your health, integrity, work effectiveness, and undermining your most important relationships. Would you like just an assessment of Westside family at large? You want to just see how we all just aggregate so far, cumulative for the day, 8:15 to 9:30. Let's see if we have our scores in yet. Ooh, interesting. Just a ton of slackers. Man, I expected more of you. I thought there would be more in my tribe. Decent human beings. I guess we're just good, well-balanced people. All the teaching from Randy is paying off. I just think that's fantastic. Those, a little bit, getting into the red zone, OHFD, 8%, 4% for Westside Workaholics. All right, well, congratulations, I guess, huh? So the reason I'm talking about this, by the way, is not because I have it all figured out. I'm talking about this because it is a passion to figure out. Now, there is one thing that I figured out that is working, and I can't wait to share that with you later. But by and large, this is about joining all of us in the struggle of work and its impact for us. And beyond all the tongue and cheek and all the kind of facetious humor is the reality that this is something that God has ordained since before the foundations of the world began, essentially. This is a command, it's not a suggestion. And in Steve Poe's book, this is what inspired this whole series. He'll be here next week to talk about anger. He writes this on his chapter on workaholism. No one wants to be known as an addict, but workaholism is different. It seems to be the most respectable sin in the Christian community. I tend to agree with that. Somehow, we give ourselves a pass for it. and even in light of modern day research. I love when researchers catches up to what God laid before, the foundations of the world began. We're just like, oh, really? Interesting. Research shows that when we don't have a day of rest, it just basically causes everything to go awry. Check out the Harvard Business Review. Here's what they write. Those with workaholic tendencies report health complaints and had increased risk for metabolic syndrome, also reported a higher need for recovery, more sleep problems, more cynicism, more emotional exhaustion, and more depressive feelings than employees who merely worked long hours. See, there is a difference between quantity and obsession. So for more than those who work long hours but did not have workaholic tendencies. In other words, this impacts your sleep, this impacts your physical health, your emotional well-being, this impacts your relationships, and this impacts your productivity. In a different Harvard Business Review, actually shows that your productivity goes down. The very thing that as workaholics we most want to go after is getting it done, it actually causes us to do it poorly, not as effectively. More is not more, actually. And so if we drill back to this, okay, what is really going on in us that we can't turn it off? That we can't actually just stop and pause? I want to go back to the very kind of first and second chapter of Genesis to look at the workflow process that God had for himself and contrast that with the workflow process that he laid out for you and for me. Because interestingly, they're not the same. So if you want to, grab your Bible, look with me here at Genesis chapter 2, verse 2. It says this: by the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. Now, by the way, let me just say that whenever we get into, creation and days and all that, and is it literal, is it metaphorical? Okay, just, if you can, just zero into the principle and the point of God's rhythm and what he's doing here. Whenever I go to Genesis 1, 2, and 3, I go, it is so profoundly true. And just capture the truth here in this moment. God works for 6 days. The crescendoing climax moment is when he actually creates human beings in his image. That's on the 6th day. And then on the 7th, he rests. All right, so let's unpack this for a moment. God's workflow process is he creates everything out of nothing. That's called ex nihilo. And basically for 6 days, God works. Then, at the end of the 6th day, he did what? He finished. He finished, right? So God finished. And all of it says, vast array. And then he did what? He rested. Right. Now, how about for you and for me? We look at our workflow process. Where does it start for us? This gets a little nuanced. Humanity was created on the 6th day at some point, and then the 7th day is rest. So really, for us, our first day, we do what? We rest, right? See how already this is different? We rest, and then for 6 days, we work, and after we work for 6 days, the workflow, as designed by God, is we are then to rest, right? So what's the biggest difference here between God's workflow process and ours? Finishing. God gets to finish. I remember when I read this, and this just captured me for the first time. By the 7th day, God rested. I'm like, not fair. Wait, this is a scam. How am I supposed to actually rest? Because I don't get to finish like you, God. There's always something more to do. There's always another cycle of laundry. There's always another dish in the sink. You ever have that moment where you're just about done? You're doing the dishes, and then someone just conveniently drops another dish in the sink, right? You get the proposal out, but then they want revisions. You start a company, you sell it, you have an exit, but then you go start another one. When do you and I ever get to finish? And the answer is really never. And I go, not fair. God, you worked, then you had this beautifully satisfying, comprehensive meta finish. Then you can rest. Not for you, not for me, right? So what's going on there? It's actually beautiful. Number one, what do we see here? Rest is given. It is not earned. That's huge. I think it's one of the biggest lies that we have about all of this is we think we work until we finish, and then when we finish, then we can rest. Had this conversation with a friend not too long ago. He's like, what is it, Dan, that keeps me from being unable to go sit on my back deck and just have a quiet moment without first having to mow my lawn, edge, weed, and blow, and do all that stuff? He goes, I can't do it. I gotta go do the work. Then if I get to the work, then I can rest. But here's the thing about finishing. Finishing is a mirage. Finishing is a seducer. Finishing is never finished. And so I love how God created this to start with, going, nope, this is a gift. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to get through finishing to get to it. You just rest. That's where you start. What's the second thing? The second thing is God is really the only true finisher. I've been talking about that, right? He's the only true finish. And that word for finish in the Greek kind of translation is teleos, from which we get teleological, from that sense of purpose, meaning, design, intent, all these kind of like God is the big meta finisher. You and I, we might finish the little mini things, but there's always going to be the next thing. And we're going to be like how it writes in Ecclesiastes that we'll work and toil and sweat, but at night we will still find no rest. This sense of, I will never quite finish, but God does. All right, so if you're building this now, God designed for you and me just to start in rest. We don't have to earn it. And actually, in fact, God is the only true finisher, not you and not me. And then something happens if I begin to listen to myself to go, well, then what workflow process am I truly living by? God's or the one that he gave me to live by? And the reality is that I, for so much of my life, I try to live by God's workflow process that only works for him, not for me. In other words, when I refuse to rest, I am trying to replace God in my life. Now sit with that for a second. Listen to yourself when you're striving for that next thing. What's in there for you? Here's what's going on in me. A sense of, I want to be a finisher so I can have a deep sense of satisfaction, even though I'll constantly feel this cognitive dissonance even when I get done, because I won't think about, I'll miss that, or I'll start that, or I could have done more. How many of you have ever actually done a checklist, and for a rare occasion, you actually got that checklist done, and then you thought to yourself, well, I must not have had a very ambitious checklist. Let me go think of more things I could do, right? What's behind that? For me, control. For me, a need to have everything dialed in. For me, actually, for us, it's a form of idolatry, where we're trying to actually take the place of God in our lives, where we somehow can't let him run the universe for a day, where we can't trust him with all that feels unfinished and undone. No, I say, it has to be all by myself. I gotta get this done, and then I can rest. That is a lie. Finishing never happens. Rest is a gift. And what would it look like to flip it around and say, I start and rest, and then I work, and then I rest, and then I work, because I'm never done. Only God is. And that's what we've been practicing, and I've been practicing for about a year now. I've been taking the Sabbath thing seriously. And I thought Sabbath sounded a little too like religious or whatever. So with my family, I call it Freedom Day, is what I call it, right? Freedom internally from the shackles and tyranny of this sense of drive. I've got to do more, do more, do more. And freedom from technology and all of the ways that over time it can dehumanize us and break our relationships. Freedom from the sense of instant gratification. So what I choose not to do, here are my 3 things. I don't work on my one day, I don't deal with technology, and I don't shop. Those are my 3 things. You figure out what it is for you, right? But those are the three things where I know I'm slipping into, I got to do this on my own. And instead, on Freedom Day, I come to God and I basically say this: God, you are the only true finisher. So I give to you all that is unfinished. I choose today to rest, not because I'm done, but because I'm yours. And so my day, I love my day. I don't know what I'd do without my day. I just become super lazy, right? I have like a spot on the couch. I take naps. I read books. I grill out. I take my 14-year-old driving. Holy cow. Right? I am predisposed to saying yes to my family. I am present to them. I'm just completely wasteful, right? I do mow the lawn. Why? Because that doesn't feel like work. That actually feels like I'm outside. So it's different for every single person. But here's what happens internally. Man, it's like a detox. And all the what ifs, and and I didn't finish this. And I come into my Sabbath day just like, I thought I'd do more and I'd have this done. And I got a meeting on Monday. And yes, I've had clients reach out to me on Sunday and I ghosted them. Didn't even know. Like important ones. Yes, I've had teammates say, hey, we have to work over the weekend. And I've said, you can have any part of my weekend, but you can't have Sunday. And they look at me like this, right? I've missed out on stuff. I've had friends reach out to me and no response. My daughters love it, though. That's the cool thing. They're teenagers. They think it's the coolest thing in the ever. They cheer me. They're like, Dad, thank you that we get to be the weird family. We're just so grateful. No, I'm kidding. They don't like it at all. They hate it. And I don't care. I don't care. Because I know that a right sizing occurs within me. I know that a true sense of rest happens. I know that our ability to connect is radically different in me and one to another. In fact, as I just took kind of an inventory, like what are the benefits of having done this now intentionally for a year? Let me just roll them out to you. Number one is a healthy distance begins to occur. All the things that felt so urgent, tyrannical-like, give it 24 hours and like, that's not as big a deal. Number two is a sense of clarity and perspective for my life, for my wife and children's life, and for my work. Number three, this sense of emotional health, where I'm just a healthier person, man. I'm more grounded. Number four, connection. I just connect differently one to another. Or five, I have more energy. I'm ready. Like rest makes you better. Rest makes you better. Six, success. I'm not saying I'm a successful person, but I mean, maybe Chick-fil-A's got something figured out. You know what I mean? Maybe Casey Joe's. They got something figured out. Maybe what God set since before the foundations of the earth, maybe he has something figured out that we can pay attention to. The research is, Harvard Business Review is figuring it out. And the last thing is actually, I experience God in a different way. A sense of presence with him and with others. I worship differently. Being here with you all on Sunday when I'm not teaching. I join my A2 community differently as a result. I experience God and his people more richly as a result. And that's why God says, like, do it. Like, this is for you, but it's also, God says, it's for me. You're to set this apart to the Lord your God. Keep this day holy. Set it apart to the Lord your God. In other words, God's got something in this as well. Not just, this isn't something he wants from you. This is something he wants for you and with you. So I want to give you a challenge to shift from making the third commandment a suggestion to go and know God kind of like murder. I'm going to take it for real. And I'm going to live by way of it being a command where it's non-negotiable. I'm telling you, the freedom that will come, the true rest that will come. The three things I'll offer you, but you can kind of figure it out in between, is one, no work, two, no tech, and three, no Amazon. No shopping. and just see what happens. Make it an experiment. Will you pick a day? Will you pick a day? So, Father, I pray over all of us in this room. I know there's weird conversation going on internally. I know there's all sorts of resistances. But we trust you, God. We trust you to run the universe when we rest. We trust you to make a way when we're thinking there's no way. God, you are the only true finisher. And so we give you all that feels unraveled, undone, unorganized, unfinished. I pray that we will choose to rest not because we're done, but because we are yours. And that we might find delight there, freedom there, joy there, life there. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit we pray. Amen.
Man, let's stand to our feet this morning.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me.
Sing it out.
Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
Sing it out. When I was your foe,
I was your foe, still your love called me. You have been so, so good to me.
when I felt no worth, Lord.
When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. Yes, you did. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of
Let's confess there's no shadow.
There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me.
Let's sing it out, church.
There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up,
Coming after me. That's right.
there's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down,
Coming after me. No shadow.
our hands all over the sanctuary. All our hands lifted, our hearts lifted. As we take a moment out to talk to the Savior. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, Lord. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, Lord. I worship you. If you know it, help us say it. You are a way make, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are way make, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you, Lord. I worship you. You are a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. That is who you are. Come on, raise your voice. You are a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. That is who you are. You are my God, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. My God, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. That is who you are. 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 Way make, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Come on, raise your voice. Way make, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Even when I don't see it, you're working. some of you can attest that when you can't trace God, you don't know where he is, it's hard for you to trust him. But I want to reassure you that when you don't see him and when you can't feel him, and even when you don't know he's there, he is. The song and the scripture says he's a God that won't leave you nor forsake you. So you can bank on when you don't feel him or see him. He's actually right there if you just tap in and ask God, Lord, where are you? He's easy to find. The song says, when you don't see him, he's working. Even when you don't feel him, he's working. He's a God that won't leave you. A God that won't forsake you. He's always right by your side. All you gotta do is trust him. Oh, he's a miracle worker. He's a promise keeper. He's light in the darkness. That is exactly who you are. Come on, put in the atmosphere what God is to you. He's a healer. He's a way maker. He's a provider. He is a comforter in the midnight hour. When you're crying on your pillow, God is right by your side. That is who he is. 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 That is who God is. Whatever you need him to be, God will be. You are a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. Oh, way maker,
Miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
Come on, one more time, you say it out. Way
Make miracle
Come on, let heaven hear you.
promise keeper,
Light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
In the book of Hebrews, yeah. Good stuff is happening. In the New Testament, from the book of Hebrews, it says, there remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God. It hasn't gone away. And this is for anyone who enters God's rest, also rests from their works, just as God did from his. Let us therefore, let's make every effort to enter into that rest, every effort. So that, and this is interesting, so that no one will perish by following their example of disobedience. And I just know to bring a challenge of taking a day, no work, no tech, no shopping. I know many of us are just going, no way, no way, right? No way. You don't know my boss. You don't know my situation. You don't know my life. You don't know my need for provision. No way. What did we just sing? Who is God? God is the what? He's the way maker. And here's what I know. I know that when I keep pressing and I blow past a command and invitation of God like that, I am trying to be the way maker. I refuse to let God make the way because I'm so bent on trying to do it myself. And so why don't we let him make a way? Let's take a day and let him be the way maker of our lives. Where we come to him again and we say, God, you are the only true finisher. And you're always working. You're always working. You are the true finisher. So I give to you today all that is unfinished. And God, today I choose to rest, not because I'm done. In fact, quite the contrary. I choose to rest because I'm yours. In all that feels unraveled, in all that feels unfinished, in all that feels disorganized, I'm yours. Will you take a day? Will you take a day and just see. Just call it an experiment. See what happens in you. See what happens among you. See what happens through you. I guarantee it. You'll be different. The light of Christ will shine more through you. Your work will be more productive, and everything in between. You know, it's interesting. Jesus, by the way, what workflow process did he use? We just came out of this awesome series from Randy Frazie's book, His Mighty Strength, where Jesus deliberately, though God, chose not to just lean into his divine privileges, but instead lived his full humanity just out loud for us to follow and see. He chose our workflow process. Jesus chose to rest, then work, rest, then work, rest, then work. Until when? Till the cross, when he said 3 words, it is finished. And so there lies for us why a day of rest still remains, because of the life of Jesus, the death of Jesus, the resurrection of Jesus, and that day when he returns to finish it all. You and I, we can take a day and rest. And if you've never actually taken a moment and said, I am going to call him Lord of my life because I'm going to allow him to make a way, well, that happens in your heart. It happens by speaking it out loud and just say, Jesus, I am yours by your life, death, and resurrection. And it also happens when we say it out loud and we shout it from the rooftops. And that's what baptism is for. In the scriptures, when you give your life to Jesus, become a follower, you go find water to let everyone know, I'm going down with my old ways and I'm coming back up to the new way of following Jesus. And so we have some water right out in the commons area there. And similar for Speedway. And if you want to get baptized, we just say to the online community, put that on the chat. But here's the cool thing about if you decide to get baptized today, you're going to get wet anyways, right? So why not now? Right? So just head out there. It's been so fun to hear the applause, to see the wet footprints in the ground heading out the door because someone said, I'm going to live the new way of Jesus in my life, and it changes everything. So let's do that. If you want to pray, we'd love to have you join us in the prayer room, similar at Speedway. Throw it on the chat. And lastly, if you just want to join us on this journey of being a family and a community here at Westside Family, just head to the Connection Center and learn about us in 4 things. Westside in 4. And with that, let's go in all of our unfinishedness and let God be the great finisher. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, we are backstage with Dan. Amazing message. You know, for me, I have so much.
Yeah, this is for you, Jason.
It is.
And I was just wrote the whole thing for you.
Everybody that knows me knows how I struggle with this. So yeah,
we wrote this test together, basically the assessment. So.
Yeah. And so before we get into the questions, there's a lot of questions today that were very specific. And so I want to get to Sheila's question. That the book that was referenced was Creatures of Habit by Stephen Poe.
Yeah.
And actually, he's going to be coming to speak
next week.
Yeah. Author of that book. Amazing. Okay, so there was a couple of questions that kind of circled around this basic idea. So I'm going to lane on 2 of them at the same time. Okay. One from Susie, where she's working in healthcare, always being off on Sundays is not an option. We're required to work. Hospitals and medicinal clinics cannot shut down for Sundays and holidays. People get sick 365 days a year. How can we have a Sabbath day? So put a pin in that one. And then another one that's similar to that, Christopher asks, if we're scheduled to work on Sundays, should we quit our job or find another day of the week to make our 7th day? So 2 questions, basically, circling around the same idea.
Yeah, totally.
What are your thoughts?
My first thought is don't be overly, I'm not suggesting that they are, but just have freedom in finding what works best for you. To the extent that you can, have it be the same day of the week Does it have to be Sunday?
So it doesn't have to be Sunday.
Yeah, I mean,
or Saturday if you want to go
right,
old school.
But if possible, have it be the same day of the week if you can. Not everyone can control that.
Right.
So that's number one. So I'd say not necessarily don't quit your job, and you have to hold it loosely. So for example, I'm working right now.
Yeah,
right?
me too.
And this is my this is my
game
day.
day. Yeah.
And so now the minute I leave here, my phone is off. I don't look at anything. I don't see anything. And it sure is a lot more beautiful when I'm not working, to have a full 24 hours,
Right.
So, we need grace in this to figure it out. But about the healthcare thing, whether it's healthcare or any form of essential service or work,
right?
Here's how I would put that. If a loved one of mine is going in for surgery, my prayer is, Lord, may he or she be really well rested.
Right, yes.
I don't want somebody who's been working for,
That's
4
funny.
weeks without rest because they'll get sloppy, they'll be exhausted. Now, in wartime,
right.
in a global pandemic, of course, thank you, essential workers, thank you, frontline medical personnel,
Right.
for getting after it. But by and large, we need you to rest. And any time when we begin to allow that to creep in, whether it's I'm a doctor or I'm a pastor or I'm a whatever, we're beginning to actually believe the lie of the overinflated self. That I'm too important to rest. Well, you are so very important, and we need you to rest for self-care because you can only give away that which you have, right? And you need a reservoir, you need some soulfulness, you need rest.
As you were talking, what comes to mind is the way that Jesus did it. Because, in one sense, as a healthcare worker, he chose to heal on the Sabbath, and yet at times chose to rest during moments that didn't make sense.
Ding, ding.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful point, Jace, because think about, for all the people Jesus did heal, think about who he didn't heal. Think about to go to sit by the lake, the Sea of Galilee, to go up to the mountain to spend all night with the Father. He had to probably step over a lot of maimed people, crippled people, diseased people to make that a priority in his life. And at times he said to his disciples, hey, let's get in a boat, let's go to the other side. I know you're exhausted. And they still followed him around. It was a constant challenge, but there was an intention, there was boundary and practice for Jesus.
When I always look at Jesus, I find so much balance and the example that we're really looking for. And I find it fascinating too that for me, this whole message, I'm still locked in on, God's process.
Yeah.
And his job is to finish.
Right.
And that's what keeps me from, just on a personal level.
Right.
That's one of the things. If I feel like I have to finish, I can't rest.
Right. That's the great lie.
That's it.
That's a great lie.
And so for me, it's like, and to your point, Jesus, in his whole life, there were a lot of people that didn't get healed, a lot of rest that he took. And at the end of his life, he said, it is finished.
Yes.
So he had the right to say, there's a lot of work that's not done
Right.
or that could be done. But yet the only person that can make that call is God.
Yeah.
And when I feel like that I need to finish, that just sets me up. It's a trap.
It is a trap.
And so for me, that I'm still circling around that one because I feel like that for me, I could possibly find freedom by letting God do all of the finishing.
Right.
Because my OCD kicks in.
Yes.
And I want to go to inbox 0.
Yes.
I want to,
I totally know.
Every box has to be checked before I can feel the rest and go home.
Right. Yes. Now, think about, there was a question that came up in the, in our conversation earlier today about smart work versus, could you automate stuff so that it's working while you're resting? I think I've thought more about it. I think, in the Jewish culture, what they would do.
If you even think about it, I mean, not to interrupt too much, but I thought, God, when he finished, he automated a bunch of stuff so that he could rest.
Interesting.
The planets kept on spinning.
Interesting, dude.
You know,
your mind. It's astounding. No, it's beautiful. Yeah. I completely forgot what I was going to say because that was just so profound. That was so profound. Okay, smart rest, right?
Yes,
and all
yes.
that. In other words, something behind that. What were we talking about? Good grief.
Automation.
No, that still wasn't it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry, dude.
No, that was good.
Totally
Whatever he said
pulled
is
your
what
train
we're
of thought.
supposed to
So
think about.
here's the other side of this too, because you mentioned this a little bit, working today.
Yeah.
And so Mike is asking, how do we make the jump from desired volunteer commitment to prioritizing obediently the Sabbath? Because we have a lot of people and a lot of, I'm so grateful for our online team. Holy cow. This would not happen without them. And they're working,
right,
in a sense, on Sunday.
Yes.
And there's even principles where Jesus would say things like, well, the Levites work on Sunday.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
And so what are your thoughts on that?
My thought is serving your community is not work, in that sense. It's serving your community.
Okay.
So I think that's beautiful. Now, again, if we go back, and this is what I was going to say, I knew it would come back.
Okay, good.
In Jewish culture, they would work really hard to rest. They would get all of their preparations. Friday would be a day of preparation, and they would work to get everything set. And if you read like Abraham Heschel or in his book Sabbath or others, and it was just this beautiful day of preparation. And then when the sun would start to descend, they'd light candles and they'd say, "Whatever's not done's done. Here we are," right? But it's a mad dash to get there. And then that's where the legalism of, well, if you can't travel so many miles on the Sabbath, I'm going to go just short of that, and then I'm going to, all that stupid stuff that we can do. Now, but we can work hard. We can set up the automations to do that. Now, about the volunteer thing, I mean, I think just for me, the point is when I'm trying to usurp God by refusing to rest. When I can't trust him with this, I'll work really hard to say, what do I have next week and the following week? Let me prep. Let me make sure that agenda is sent out. Let me make sure that proposals, and I'll do all of that. But there's other things that I just go, all right, what's stirring in me that feels that drive and need that I've got to do more and I can't let go and I can't stop. And that's the idolatrous part of me.
Right.
Is serving your community, is it that? Or is it serving your community as a gift?
Well, there's a nuance there too, because sometimes, one can serve your community so that you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And then it's just another trap for you.
I know.
And
so you have to pay attention.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of volunteers get burnt out over the years because they did not have rest, and this became one more thing. So again, take your own temperature, pay attention. Right. Is this coming from an overflow and it's a truly offering, or is it something different?
Yeah, and to your point, the overflow idea is that we work from a place of rest.
Yes.
So when the day starts, according to the Jewish calendar, at sunset, that's when you go to sleep. It's like we watch Netflix, but they went to sleep, right? Yeah. And so they rested.
For sure, man.
So their day, the first part was an act of trust.
Yes.
Just like it's a first fruits of your time.
Yes.
In the same way where one could give first fruits of your tithe, of your whatever, it's like it's an act of trust and saying, okay, I'm going to rest.
Yeah.
And that, to me, feels so much more organic and natural, because I find that some of my best ideas and some of my best ways of working appear to me during times of rest.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the shower, when I'm just like, just whatever, I'm just on the couch.
Right.
Or sometimes when I'm asleep at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, something will come to me. It's like those ideas come to me in times of rest. So then I can work from rest.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a true law of diminishing returns. We know this. The research points to that. And we're way better. That's the part we don't get, Yeah.
Okay, so I want to. This is our last question, I think. I haven't looked at see if there's any more, but Debbie from New Jersey, she asked this question, and I hope I'm understanding it correctly, Debbie, because I've heard it preached, not from her, but from others. It's a question that maybe we need to chase after. Is Jesus our Sabbath? We rest in him. It is finished. The question being, well, Jesus fulfilled the law.
Right.
We don't go, I mean, the Ten Commandments are a guide
Yeah.
in all their nuances and stuff. And even Jesus looked like he fudged on the Ten Commandments in certain ways. Like not only with the Sabbath thing, but it's like, okay, according to the law, we should kill this woman found in adultery, and Jesus lets her go. You know, there's nuances to the law that Jesus tends to play with because he's the law giver, so he can do that, right? So there's elements of this. If Jesus fulfills the Sabbath and fulfills the law, are we bound to it at all?
How much time do we have, Jason?
Well,
What do
we've
we
got
have
about
here?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay. Well, I think, just to nuance about Jesus and the law for a moment, when he says, I did not come to abolish the law, I came to fulfill it.
Right.
Okay. So, and this is a seminary course.
Right.
But
Yeah.
now, what are the laws that were fulfilled in Jesus' life and his death and his resurrection? Right, and what are the ones that were civic in nature or in a theocratic state? And so the Church of Jesus has had to figure out what applies and what doesn't apply.
Right.
I would argue that Jesus honored the Sabbath, but he redeemed it from legalism. He did not play with it. He fulfilled it and showed us what it truly is. The Sabbath was made for man. By God, this is for you, not man-made for the Sabbath, for example. I would say that all the Ten Commandments Jesus fulfilled. He didn't play with. So that we can get into that. But I would personally practice some caution into that space there. So I go back to the question and I go, so if Jesus is my Sabbath, what does that mean then? Do I work incessantly and never stop? Is that what that really means? I mean, I get that Jesus says, come to me, all of you who are weary, and I will give you rest. And I believe that to be true, and I believe that in God there is rest. But when then do I go and be with God? Well, we should do that in a daily way, and we should do that in a weekly way. And the rest plan of God is something that is daily, and it's weekly, and it's actually, if you look at the festivals and the way that God ordained rest and party, by the way.
Exactly.
It's beautiful, all the way to the 49th year.
God created holidays
the
and
year of
vacation
Jubilee
too.
and everything. Yeah. So I don't adhere to well, Jesus is my Sabbath, it's finished, and it doesn't apply anymore. That's why I intentionally chose to read from Hebrews at the end. There is a Sabbath day of rest that remains for us. So I don't think we're off the hook. That's all I want to say. Yeah.
Well, like with a lot of things, because Jesus fulfills the law is still there. But it's there in a way.
Should we go murder now?
Right. It's there in a way. But to your point, Jesus many times said, you have heard it said this or that, but I say.
But do you know what he's getting at there?
He's getting at the heart.
He's also getting at not the law. He's getting at what's called the Gezerot. And those are man-made traditions heaped upon, or even the mission. Man-made traditions that are built around the law. Really quickly, this is so important. I'm passionate about it. All right, so you have your 613 laws, right? Those are like Jesus came to fulfill those. But then they started going, well, how do we know? There's all this gray in there. And is it the goat and is it the...
like all the questions we've had right now.
There's all this happening. So what do we do? Well, then there's oral tradition built around that, right? And then there's this thing called fences, Gezerot. And the fences are just to keep you from breaking the actual law, we're going to create more laws around it. So here's how I liken that.
No,
so
I get it.
I went to
I've done
Christian
that too.
college.
Yes.
So here's a version of Gezerot. You cannot have a female in your dormitory with the door being more than 45 degrees open. Now that's a law by the school. What are they trying to keep you from?
Hiding behind the door.
Premarital sex, right? Yeah. That's the real law. Right? So they create all these other ones that might be good and well-intended. So when Jesus says, you have heard it been said, he's actually talking about man-made traditions built around the law, not the law itself.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. What a great conversation. Thanks for sharing this time with us.
Man. You're the best.
And just know that we have a wonderful team, a family of believers that you can find and get deep into these types of conversations every single day in our Facebook group. Just do a search on Facebook for Westside Anywhere and you'll find us. Thanks for being a part of this conversation, and we will see you in social.
If you'd like prayer for anything, hit the request prayer button or put pray for me in the comments or chat. We have a team of people who are ready to pray for you right now. If you've accepted Jesus and crossed that line of faith and want to show everyone that you are His now through baptism, we would love to help you celebrate that profession of faith from anywhere. Simply let us know by clicking the I want to be baptized button in the chat or by typing in the comments or chat, I want to be baptized. For more interaction throughout the week, we hope you'll check out our Westside Anywhere Facebook group. Every day, we pray for each other, go through the scriptures, and encourage one another. You can be part of our community every single day. Now go be Jesus Church anywhere you are.